Hey everybody, and welcome to the Comicast. We thank you for joining us here for another episode. We're excited to be with you again this week. Today we're going to be talking about Lil Nas X. His album came out, but we're going to be kind of talking about how really he's breaking barriers, not only in the music community, but for young people who may be fans of him, to see somebody in the spotlight, getting the attention and good attention that he is getting.
Podcasting from the Lone Star State in Southern California, you're listening to the Coma Podcast with Cody and Matt.
I actually wanted to start off, it kind of goes with this a little bit, and then also kind of goes back to like what we talked about with Bree, talking about gender norms and gender boxes. But the other day, this past weekend, I was at a neighborhood happy hour thing that we do. But I will tell you, this past one had a lot of kids at it. And I noticed several of the guys, the kids, young guys, were all wearing nail polish. And I just thought that was great. Because we talked about how that, you know, in the past, it really wasn't the norm. But here lately, it seems to be like becoming just okay. And to see young guys wearing nail polish, like it's just nothing. It's just part of their outfit and whatever. I think
great. It's interesting to see it surging again. So when I was in 6th grade, there was it was quite a little stir. A bunch of the guys were randomly wearing nail polish. And I remember thinking, that's weird, because I was still in the mindset like, oh, only girls could do that. Boys can't. But then it was one of the first times I remember thinking, well, why not? Like, why can't guys do it? Because it's literally just color and your nails. Yeah. It doesn't change how you act. It doesn't make you any less capable of using your hands. I mean, does it give you superpowers? Because if it gives you superpowers.
Oh, I think was great about it is one of them was like a little, like almost like a toddler, and he just, I guess, wanted to paint his nails. Maybe his mom had painted her nails and was like, I want my nails painted. And then another one was older. I would say maybe 13 or 14. And he was out there playing with some of the other kids, like football and everything like that. So like, it was just like, this is just normal. And I just loved it. You know, when I saw that. I
love seeing the whole thing of like hair, nails, clothes. It's just literally material things. It does not impact how your capabilities. Like, I'm sure the kid was still able to throw a football just fine. Yeah. And, you know, like, that's what I mean. Like, it's always... Yeah. It's always interesting, and I'm so glad to see the rising generation explore this more.
I think it's a great thing that we've seen hopefully starting to change and not people not caring. And one of those people who doesn't really care is Lil Nas X, like we're going to be talking about. But we'll do some icebreakers, Matt. We're going to play a game. Smash or pass. So I'll go first because we're going to be talking about Lil Nas X. Matt, smash or pass Lil Nas X?
Oh, smash. 100%. I think right. He was my celebrity crush, remember?
Yeah, I knew that was going to be easy. Let's go. This one, I don't know. I don't know what you're going to say. I know what I would say, but smash or pass Ben Affleck?
Pass.
Yeah, I would also pass. And then smash or pass.
And that's not just because he's older. That just in general, I was never like, oh my God. Yeah.
I don't really get the appeal of him. But anyways, smash or pass Robert Pattinson?
Oh, pass.
I would be on the middle of the line. I don't know. But if I had to choose, I would probably say smash.
Yeah, I'll pass. I'm good.
Okay, your turn, Matt.
Because we've never talked about this. Pineapples on pizza. This age-old debate.
Smash. I do love pineapple on pizza.
I am surprised.
It adds just like a nice little flavor. Like, I pretty much like all pizzas. There's not like one pizza or any toppings that I really don't like. I just love pizza.
You know, I think I know the answer to this, but Tom Holland.
Smash.
Totally.
That was easy. I mean, here's gymnast. He's super cute. And yeah, I love it. I think the gymnastics very limber.
That's a good way to put it. Okay. Let's go with Macaulay Culkin, since he is on, I believe, the current season of
Macaulay Culkin. Oh, I know. So I'm gonna say Smash.
Really? I love
yeah. So like, I really like Macaulay Culkin, I guess. I think there's probably some like nostalgia factor. So I think there's something about like growing up, because we're all about the same age as Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, that is true.
So I was growing up with him. Yeah, Smash Macaulay Culkin. We're going to be talking about Lil Nas X and kind of how he's changing the music industry and also helping young gay people that are growing up to see somebody in a position like that. All of that coming up next. So, Lil Nas X, Matt. On our live show on Friday, we talked about his debut album finally came out. Of course, he had the 2019 hit Old Town Road that was done. It didn't really get a lot of success because I guess people, I don't really know, I guess, what the situation was at that point. But then Miley Cyrus's dad, Billy Ray Cyrus, for those of you who only know Miley Cyrus, but Billy Ray Cyrus, don't you remember him back in the day, though? Achy Breaky Heart. That song was everywhere.
Everywhere. My 6-year-old self, I remember my other sister was obsessed with it, and
if you don't know what we're talking about, look up Billy Ray Cyrus, Achy Breaky Heart. Just do it. Because when we were young, that was everywhere. That was like the it song. Anyway, so I guess Miley Cyrus's dad. But he joined in, and then it really took off as a hit. It really kind of brought it to everyday attention. Then everybody was trying to do like little versions of Old Town Road, and everybody was singing it. Kids were singing it. Adults were singing it. Whatever. But after that, Lil Nas X talked about how he didn't think he got worried about success going forward, because you always have that fear, I think, if you're in music or acting or whatever, that it might be like a one-hit wonder. You might have just hit once and that's it. And so he kind of took a hiatus and then started working on his album, and then COVID hit, and then that created a whole situation. And then so he worked on it through COVID. But he's been releasing these singles, and that's what people were so crazy. They're like, he doesn't have an album yet. It's just single after single with no album release. And they all ended up being successes.
Right.
And they all got a lot of attention.
And as did his videos, because he really, I think what he has put out there is, one, he, like most 22-year-olds, they are literally forged in the fires of the internet. And, millennials, we got the adventure of being the first full generation really to have the internet. And we spent our time getting roasted and seeing the internet fights and being witty and quick. Well, we were raised partially without the internet before we got it, and these guys are ready. Like
they grew up with it.
Yeah, so he incorporates so much of that wit into his social media presence, and he's not afraid to put any of his thoughts into his videos. So all of his videos have spectacular visuals. He's not shy away from being who he wants to be, or does what he wants to do in the video, and it's just funny. Every complaint he gets, he turns it into a, another thing.
Yeah.
Most successful artists I've noticed are able to do that. I mean, like, look at Taylor Swift and the Reputation album. People just tore into her about everything, to the point where she did the Reputation tour and literally just owned everyone. And then everybody, all these, right wingers were all like, oh yeah, Taylor Swift gave her all her money. And then she's like, by the way, I'm a Democrat, vote for Hillary. And I was like, when
she's good at that, like you're saying. And he's also has kind of talked about this too, where like he knows that there's going to be certain controversy surrounding something. So he already in his head has a plan of what because he's expecting there to be controversy. So he does what's going to cause controversy, but then has the response to the controversy, because he's known it's going to be
ready.
One thing I found was interesting.
Our generation and older ones, they'll do something foolish because it was unintentional, and they're like, I can't believe everyone's so surprised. And then 2 days later, we have a 45-minute apology video. Somebody crying.
Oh gosh, talking about you're saying he grew up in a period of time where it was just full out internet and do that. He actually, when he was younger, got banned from Twitter because you can't do this where you end up having 5, 10 plus Twitter accounts. that all start tweeting and retweeting each other. And he was a really big fan of Nicki Minaj. And so he was posting a lot of stuff about that, and then also posting different memes. But he would get this account to retweet this account to retweet this account and all of that.
Oh,
and it's like gaming the system. Yeah. And so that you can't do that. So you got banned from Twitter. But all of that was like a training ground for what he's been able to do going forward. It was actually, he talked about when he came out of this COVID period. Before that, because he only came out more recently, actually, when Old Town Road came out, he wasn't out. And then I guess it would have been after 2019 is when he came out. And midway through that is when he came out. And so he talked about during this COVID period coming out of that, how he's just considers himself and feels like a totally different person. He just feels more outspoken. He just feels like he wants to be more honest. More autobiographical, more queer, just to be himself and just it's like an open book, not trying to hide it or put something up, I feel like a lot of musicians, actors or whatever, they feel like there may be a need to hide who they are, kind of compartmentalize different aspects
and there's
of their
nothing
life.
wrong with that. If you don't want to share something, that is absolutely, you're right. I just think the problem becomes when they start trying to shame another artist for sharing something. I think there was he wrote a really interesting couple tweets about it, how he grew up hating himself for what he was taught, and that, he wasn't okay. And now he's like, I'm going to be okay. I also love that, whenever he does something controversial, he turns around and takes the profits from that controversy and donates it to people in need or charities or people. And I'm just like, that's hilarious. And, and he loves doing it. And of course, I think any young person comes up with wild ass ideas or funny thoughts. He just has been able to put them to paper, put them to video. The wild visuals of some of his videos are just freaking great. And of course, I think when I first started doing the podcast, I don't think he was quite out. It was about 3 years ago when we started planning it, because he came up in conversation. We're like, oh, well, should we talk about him? We're like, well, is he out? I remember us having to actually go look it up. And I think
it was one of those things where you have certain artists like Frank Ocean, Tyler Creator, Azalea Banks, different ones like that they don't explicitly say whether they're out, whether they're just queer. It's just not fully acknowledged. And all of those people are ones. Yeah, all of those are ones who he points to as inspiration for his music career. I do think he does have a point. Like you're saying, it's everyone's own, personal life to put out there as much as they want. But I think there is something to be said about just being fully open, and so that you're not having to hide part of you or block out part of you for the public, especially if you're in the public eye, because people are always going to be on you and looking into your life.
Right.
And so for him just to be open, there's not any fear of someone trying to out you or something. And so it allows him to be himself. And like you said, he said great videos. There was Montero where he did the lap dance on Satan. And actually, so he was talking about in an interview, his dad was okay-ish after he came out. He talked to his sister and his dad before coming out. But then after the Montero Call Me By Your Name video came out, he says after that came out, they actually just got closer because of that music video. And I thought that was great. Of course, he was on SNL. That's when his
my family would literally die. And I mean, I never really put stock into their feelings when I do stuff, especially if it's something homosexual. It's funny. I actually learned that my uncle many years ago, it came up. I was visiting home and he used to be on my Facebook. And after I came out and I got really comfortable with myself, I love some of the jokes I came up with and the commentary I could make with people, in good fun, not being self-deprecating, but just in good fun. And my uncle was like, I love seeing your posts. Now, this man, he was my great uncle. So he was my grandfather's brother. He was born in 1940. So he was like, God, the things you post about being gay, it's literally just the funniest shit, because we have fun things happen in our lives. And I think it was fun being able to have that, that window into your life where it's not all seriousness and hunting for rights and hoping people don't hate crime you. That is not 90% of my life. I am still a normal person every other, when I'm not on the internet or talking about that or whatever, like when I'm sitting here playing a video game or having conversation with David. And I think people like Lil Nas X and artists make it so much more possible for that to be more mainstream rather than like you and I had to grow into that. We're going to see generations rising and learning that you can be whoever you want and still be your idea of what a productive member of society is, to do your thing. And, it's just it's really great being here, being able to see the world change and be a part of it, but also seeing things happen that you could never have dreamed of yourself. And I think that's really great. We're getting away from this very bullshit 1950s nuclear family thing, which was never really real. It was more of a facade that we just hoped for.
That really is when people put facades up in their life, that's when problems happen. So,
right.
Let that be what it wants.
And that is what it is. Those facades and pain of that is what generated a lot of his content. And now he's just running wild. And I think people get so critical of a younger artist, and I'm like, well, their artistry is a comment on the world and themselves and what they're doing. So we're going to see his work shift and change as his views of the world and his experiences change. Whether that's good or bad, it's not really relevant. It's going to happen as it's going to happen. And you're only 22 once, you're only that youthful for a very short period of time. You hit middle age and you're kind of like 30 to 50. You're like, that's like 20 years of your adult life where you're just there. But those late teens, early 20s, where you're still feeling strong and you're doing great. And he hit that stride really early. So being able to see that for himself and enjoy it. And those videos are something. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, so one, Matt,
there's that.
I feel like if we ever get a budget, I want to see you lap dance on Satan's lap. You are right.
Budget for some Advil.
See, as you get older, people, it's harder to do things like that.
Let me start.
Yeah, you are right. Like the visuals, like SNL was great. Of course, there was, like I said, his pants ripped. He actually talked about in an interview where he was talking to Timothy Chalamet, who he loved, and he named that video "Montero, Call Me by Your Name" because he was writing that after he watched the movie Call Me by Your Name, and he really loved that queer love story, and so he was so excited to finally meet Timothy Chalamet, and he did that. And someone asked, "Was this before or after your pants ripped?" And he was like, "Oh, that was before." But then, of course, he did some of the awards. I think it was the BET Awards, where he kissed one of his backup dancers on the mouth, and so it's just been it's just been this progressive thing where he's just showing more and more of himself and being open. And then, of course, one of his music videos that came out with the release of his album shows him having sex with one of his loves that was in this music video story, which is the music video is great. So go check that one out. But I think it is one of those things. When I was looking and researching this, I feel like there really hasn't been many artists who have been to the level that he has, as far as really just fully expressing themselves, expressing their sexuality completely openly and not hiding any of it. And also at the same time, being confrontational to a point with those who are having disagreements with you or
he doesn't
trying to shame you.
He does not shy away from people when they say dumb shit.
No. He doesn't.
He's got the wit. You know who else? It reminds me a lot of Stormy Daniels. If you've ever followed her on Twitter, amazing, just fearless.
Yeah.
It's just fucking fearless.
He talked about one time when one of the controversies happened, talking about there were some rappers. They have a whole catalog of songs talking about them sleeping with multiple women, but the moment he does anything remotely sexual, he talks about how he's being told that he's being sexually irresponsible. And then he was like, y'all just hate gay people and don't hide.
Yeah.
that was kind of his point. But like, I think you have like someone like David Bowie or Madonna with some of the more recent artists who really have been able to like show their sexuality in the way that they did more openly and being that confrontational. So we actually have gone a long period of time without having a figure like that who is just fully open and fully can like hit back at.
There's this weird repression
the haters.
of sexuality in our country that's like kind of
like,
and we go back and forth every 20, 30 years. It seems like we kind of swing one way or the other, and we seem to be in a period of like regression. And I think when we have artists like Lil Nas X and other artists that are willing to just be themselves, I mean, whenever there's heterosexual music videos, yeah, there might be a parental warning, be like, hey, this is graphic and, whatever. But, sex happens. It just,
I mean, I would just say all those 90s videos of the like boy bands, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, they were all very sexual, heterosexual. No matter
how nice you dressed it up, it was driven, and that's just what it
like,
was.
That's what a lot of music is, pop music,
Well, a lot of music is that on different levels, no matter how you say it. If the point is the boy or girl gets the boy or girl, there you go.
He's just getting the boy, and it's great. You were also talking about people like hating on him, and like a big group of people that has been hating on him and has not fully been welcoming to him is the rap community. There's been like about 5 rappers who've come out and been extremely homophobic. There's been the one, I won't name his name because he doesn't need the publicity, but he was kicked out of several music festivals. And so he doesn't really mention them, but they want to mention him. And it's not getting them anywhere. And he's had way more success now than they will ever have. So
like some of them combined.
Exactly.
And you know what nobody talks about? What they don't talk about is that, like I was saying earlier, he is working, he donates and puts that energy towards helping more people. And, why, talk about something else, but I'm glad. Thank you for not mentioning their names because I don't really want to hear that controversy either.
It's also a really horrible name. It's a horrible name. As you were talking about him donating to charities, that is one thing we mentioned on the live show on Friday. If you want to watch our live shows, Friday, 5:00 Pacific. But we mentioned that on his song list on his website, each song corresponds to a charity that he's giving money to. It's kind of like his baby shower because he gave birth to this album, and now the baby shower gifts would be gifts to these charities, which I think is great. I don't really know any other musician who has done something like this to this level where like every song has, whether people give money or not, it is giving attention to each of these charities. You've had Miley Cyrus who has like her own charity that she does things with, and it's really great. And other celebrities who have that one charity, a lot of times their own charity that they give money to. But I think this is great because it's highlighting different LGBTQ organizations throughout the entire country. So Lil Nas X, his new album is out. I'm hoping everybody has already listened to it. Matt owns it. It's great. Go watch his videos.
To sit down and listen to it and like kind of do like a full listen and rewatch because I've literally just been studying.
Okay, now it's time for a final thought. We're going to kind of do this at the end of the show if me or Matt has something to say. And today we're going to be talking to Matt because we're going to be talking about he had found some journals that he had written growing up. And then also he had drawn a little card, a piece of paper that he sent as, I guess, when you were like a young child.
So as you all know, if you've heard some of our more previous episodes, through 23andMe, how I found out I have a whole different family, different dad, like my actual bio dad. And through him, I have 4 half siblings. So one of those siblings who has a different mom, twisted. But this one I am closer with. We talk, we've tried to interact for the last 2 or 3 years and get to know each other. It was her birthday the other day. Now she is 14 years older than me. And so we missed out on all those memories. This would have been the sibling that walked me to school, all of those, because my elementary school in Ohio did not have buses. Somebody had to walk me there every day back and forth. And this was something I always wanted as a kid. So with her birthday coming up, her birthdays were historically not so fun either. She did not have the most fun upbringing. So I sent her a birthday card, but in it, I have all this like coloring books and artwork paper and painting paper that I had for my niece and nephew when they came to visit, which are actually her daughter and grandson. So I drew her a picture of her walking me to school, and like, you know, I drew it in the mindset of like what a 5-year-old would draw. David was like, it's kind of a really good 5-year-old's drawing. It needs to make some mistakes. I'm like, well, I couldn't fit the word school on the building, and I redid it. I almost redid it, and then I realized, no, that's something I exactly would have done at 5 years old.
I was going to say the school off the building. Well, I have to say,
school was a red brick building. This is exactly how I remembered my school.
Yeah, I have to say, it's always like when you would do stuff like that in school, like they would be like, write, or like they would say write something in there, but like if you're drawing a school building and you write school on the top, I feel like always, I probably even now, I don't gauge the space right.
Yeah, you should actually
and
write
then it has to go
first and then draw the building around it.
Yes.
So my elementary school looked like this. It was a 2-story red brick building, and the school was torn down in 2006. But I really loved my elementary school. I had the same. I still remember my teachers, my classmates, and I was actually taken out of the school for 6 weeks in first grade because we moved a couple blocks, and it took me out of the district. And it was so traumatic. I guess I remember not wanting to go to school. It feels like a day to me, but apparently it was like a month and a half per my parents. My mom, I guess, was dragging me out of bed by literally my hair and collar every day. And I cried every day walking to school. They couldn't help it. I mean, we moved and they didn't know. We didn't know. And when they re-registered our address, apparently they told us we had to change schools. And I was devastated. So my stepdad went to the school board and begged them. He had one of his high school friends was on the school board, I believe, and remembered him. And it was just, as long as I was willing to walk to school and be there on time, then they would allow me to go to that school as a special. They just allowed it quietly. And I remember that. So that would have been about 30 years ago. And it was one of those moments where my stepdad really did the right thing for me. I know I talk a lot of shit about him because he has done mostly terrible things. And this does not cancel out all the terrible things he did. But this particular thing he did was the right thing to do for a grieving 6-year-old who was not socially doing well. And my parents were not equipped to help me adjust. And I remember my teacher being very, very nice, but I literally hated the school. I hated my classmates. They were all friends. They all seemed to know each other. And, we're all 5, 6 years old. So, I don't know why I would think that, but I was devastated. I sent her this card and I was like, this is something I always wanted. And I hope this is a placeholder for memories we didn't get to make, but looking forward, maybe we can. And she sent me back how much she loved it. And she's like, you have really good penmanship. We actually have the same.
It's really cute.
I have the same handwriting. So she even noted, so the only one of our major resemblances is we have blue eyes. So I used like a crayon, like a blue crayon made like the dot. I tried to do it exactly as I would have as a kid and make the obnoxious like dots to make the eyes. If you're not watching this and you're just listening, I just made the full hand motion to gesture that, FYI. So, but in thinking about that, it's something when I was doing this, I was thinking a lot about what it's like coming out as an adult. Even I came out as a very young adult. I was literally a week before turning 19. It didn't even occur to me I was gay or anything but straight until probably a few months before my 19th birthday. And it kind of answered a lot of questions. And it made me think of a lot of the journals I wrote because I tried to write out what I thought to try to put some kind of, to streamline it, to calm my brain down, to get it to, a little did I know that I was literally demonstrating like all these ADHD symptoms or ADD symptoms. And, but I was trying to reason with myself, and it wasn't ever anything about my sexuality that I wrote about, but it was all these other angsts and frustrations that I realized I didn't understand, and I couldn't understand why I didn't get it. And, my frustrations with my different family members, it was never generalized. I was always individually aware that you can't swab everybody with the same brush, So I would write about this, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, I think a lot of us go through this in our adult lives. As we start coming out, we start deconstructing whatever thing, whether it's religion, a facade you have, and trying to figure out like how much of this is really who I am and how much of this is because everybody or my family thought I should be this way, or I thought that's what I wanted my family to think. So I tried to become that. And as you know, people's personalities are like a 10 gallons of water in a 5-gallon plastic bag. It's just going to rip right through it. Eventually it's going to come spilling out, and who you are is who you are. And you're just going to project it in some way or another. And this is all running through my head while I'm drawing this card, because I'm kind of calling this 30-year-old memory. And weirdly, I felt really at peace after I sent the card. It was just a card. It was heartfelt, it was genuine, but it made me think so much of our community and how we all, a lot of times, will act out our teens and 20s in our 20s and 30s or older. And we shame ourselves for it. We shame each other for it. And, you know, on the podcast, most of season 2 and definitely season 3, we've tried to keep it lighter, just because everybody's been through so much with 2020, well, 2016 to 2020. Like, I'm laughing, but I'm also kind of
a block of time.
Yeah, it's this horrible block of time. And I was like, wow, you know, looking at these old journals, I went through and I threw out a lot of them. I kept ones that were maybe more positive, but I was at a point where I realized I didn't need to read this anymore. If I can talk about it or converse about a subject without being angry or upset or emotional, then I can throw it away, because that means I'm over it. Then I don't need to read these feelings anymore. They can be put away. That means they're already gone. But I kept the things that were kind of like a timeline, things that it's not like I'm not trying to relive the memory, but it was important to me to know when it happened. Not, I know that it happened, but I want to remember when, because it's very easy for everything to kind of blur, you know, and that was important to me. And my family is very spread out. So sometimes I'm the only one that might know when something, you know, has happened. So it's not like we're trying to relive a terrible memory. It's like, oh no, that happened here, and that's why we can't find this. You know, it's kind of like I'm the like low-key historian over here. But yeah, that's why I wanted to tell you about it. I thought it was a really interesting topic. But I also thought, I mean, it's very fitting for here. And also, you know, we're both on here, so we can do what we want.
Yes, we can. That's what I love about this.
That's like my favorite.
So, hey guys, we want to remind everyone that you can keep in touch with us on all of our social media channels, whether that is Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. You can do all of that at the ComaCast.
And we definitely love to interact and hear from all of our listeners. All of this is not possible without you guys.